When we talk about awakening, specifically Kundalini Awakening, what is it that most people are going to be seeking? What is the point in doing it? So when we understand that the whole system is, in a way, it's sort of been rigged. So we have the idea of heaven and hell, karmic cycles of a better life in the next one if you do right in this life. When we consider that the societies we live in today hide death from us, whether that is our own humanity or whether that is simply the food we eat. And I'm not talking about, oh, that's talking about meat. No, because the wheat plant has to die to produce flour. Many of the plants we eat die so we can eat them. And if they do not die, because let's say an apple tree, we are enslaving the trees in farms to work for us for maximum production. And so we are hiding that. Death is hidden from us. When death is hidden, and when everything is aimed at the next place will be better than this, what occurs, and I'm not saying this is some big conspiracy theory or deep state theory, it can simply happen by pure chaos theory, by pure chance. This has happened. It doesn't matter how it's happened. It just matters that it's here. But when we consider these things, it takes our mind off this life. It means we are more prone to being controlled and wasting the life we have. To not live every moment because it's living for the future. Because we have no understanding consciously every day that this comes to an end in this lifetime. Now, I'm not saying whether you believe in heaven or hell or whether you believe in many lifetimes. I'm not questioning that because you're free to believe what you wish to believe. But whilst you think about, hang on a sec, well, if it's past lives, well, I don't remember all my past lives. Or, well, if it's heaven and hell, well, what came before this? And without the thinking that we're going to die and not having to face it, as I said, we are prone to wasting our time. We allow our time to be exchanged, the majority of our time, wasted in exchange for a currency to be able to buy seemingly what we could call things to make our life easier or creature comforts, to make the monotony seem less monotonous. Most people work, 11 and a half weeks of the year to get a month, 2 weeks off a year. So what is it that we seek by doing that? Well, we could say we seek these creature comforts. And these creature comforts, well, for example, we can take diamonds. Diamonds, what are diamonds useful for? On a humanistic level, Diamonds are useful for grinding other stones. They're used on mining drills. We're told they are very rare, but they're used on drilling mills. We can produce them. We can make them. They can be as abundant as we wish because we can make them. They're not this rare thing. So then, well, it's gold. What is gold? Gold is a metal that doesn't corrode, so it's useful for certain things, especially things like jewelry. It looks pretty. And yes, it can be used in computing and used in space and things like that. But if it were cheaper, again, it would be a great conductor of electricity. But again, it's not a rare material. It's quite abundant. But we understand these things of scarcity to produce value, monetary value. Many people still think money is based off gold, which we know it's not. It's based off debt and people working to pay off that debt. And people are willing to do that because they don't face the death. They put it to one side. They ignore it's not going to happen. And then, well, the next life will be better anyway. That's what I'm working for. Now, you might not think that consciously, but subconsciously, that is the programming we have. So if we think, okay, well, I could die and maybe there is this heaven, maybe there's this hell, maybe there is this next life, but I'm really not going to appreciate any of that because I'm going to have no memory of it, and none of it's actually proven. It's all belief. So therefore, what am I looking for in this lifetime? What is it you seek in this lifetime? When it boils down to it, whether you call this seeking through knowledge, seeking through experience, seeking through going on holiday, seeing new places, reading new books, what people are seeking is pleasure. And yes, we're told, oh, you can't have the ups without the downs. You can't always be in a blissful state, because if you're always in a blissful state, then you'll get bored of it and want to come out of the blissful state. And that's quite a good argument, isn't it? Well, we get used to it and so we don't notice it anymore, and so it's not going to be fun and not going to be pleasurable anymore. Okay, that's a good argument. Most people believe that. Yet in this lifetime, there's something we do virtually every second of every day. And that is we breathe. The whole life, the entire life, we're breathing in, we're breathing out. And yes, if we don't pay attention to our breath, we basically let it go by. We don't even think about it. But when we simply choose to focus on our breath, we notice it. And if we're not in a state of anxiety or a state of depression or anything, just breathing, as we can see by practicing pranayamas, can be a wonderful, relaxing experience. Just breathing. And the only thing we have to do to realize the relaxation, the calm states, once again, is to focus on the breath. So therefore, is it not possible that we could bring ourselves to a state of bliss, to a state of constant pleasure, and when it becomes perhaps monotonous and boring and we lose touch of it, all we have to do, once again, is focus on it. So, oh, wow. By enjoying and looking at that plant, that sunset, that sunrise. Oh, I'm spending time with this person. They're such a lovely person. It gives me pleasure to talk to them. By simply becoming aware of that pleasure, it can become constant by keeping it in our awareness. So it is entirely possible to be happy or in a state of pleasure or a state of bliss all the time by being conscious of it. We don't have to have the downs to understand the ups. To understand the ups, we just have to place our awareness on it and stay there. So, whilst this is not the only reason to awaken the Kundalini, and I'm not just talking about Shakti rising, is to enable us to come into a state of bliss, a state of pleasure. This is what yoga talks about, to become and live in this bliss state. Tantra talks about it too, and live there. As many people say, heaven and hell are not places you go where you die, they are here on earth. You just have to recognize it and get to the point where you wish. Now, hell will be the place with people who have loads of traumas, who don't know how to let go of things and become addicted to suffering. And that addiction to suffering is called depression. Again, another argument to say we have to have the ups and downs, because if you've ever been depressed, you are constantly depressed, you are always depressed, everything is always difficult, and you never raise your head. So again, in the same argument as we can be in a constant state of bliss or pleasure, it is proven because of depression, because in depression we are in a constant state of blah. So the argument of we need the ups and the downs to feel something, we really don't. That's just absolute nonsense. So part of Kundalini Awakening, part of becoming a tantric or a tantrika, part of studying yoga, not stretching class, although stretching class goes a long way. Pranayamas go a long way, meditation goes a long way to help us get into that parasympathetic nervous system and be in a state of calm and relaxation. It doesn't take us all the way to pleasure or bliss. And so those people that realize these things, that life isn't about money, life isn't about seeking little pleasures in the short amount of time we have to have them because we can afford to have them. That it's about living in the present moment rather than working for the future and possibly a future that, well, we don't know. And we will never know when we get there. Because who's actually come back to tell us? What proof is there of it? No, as I said, what you choose to believe is what you choose to believe. I'm just saying, look at the point of view in, let's ignore that's there. Focus on the now. Now, if that's there and we focus on the now and we live the best of our abilities, we live in a state of pleasure, in a state of bliss, we do everything moralistically good to satisfy our ego, our beliefs, our needs, then surely when that time arrives, we will also get that in the next place. Or if you're looking to break the karmic cycle and the lifetimes, then we get to the state of nirvana. We don't have to come back. Okay, if we reach that, brilliant, but why not focus on the now? And when we focus on the now, we find there is this niggling thing in the back of our throats or the back of our heads or deep down in the pit of our stomach, or that we're missing something. And that something seems to be around when we're not in pleasure, when we're not in bliss, when we're not enjoying ourselves. Because when we're enjoying ourselves, that thing goes away, doesn't it? Unfortunately, when we look to the external, traveling, buying new things, new and shiny, that satisfaction is so short-lived. The amount of work we have to put in to get to it seems rather pointless, doesn't it? Now, of course, I'm not saying quit your job and, because obviously we need to eat. We need to have a roof over our head. We need to feel safety. The typical pyramid, psychological pyramid. First comes safety. We need to fulfill those needs. But whilst we're doing those things, we can also be working internally, wherever we are, towards being happy in states of bliss. Because many people think money brings happiness, yet we know it doesn't. And actually, a lot of people who, the more money they have, the more fear they have of losing it. And so the harder they work to keep it and gain more and more and more and more and more. And they get into a loop of needing more and more and more and more and more, and they never feel satisfied. They have more money than they can spend in a lifetime. Or they have enough money to live comfortably, but yet they still seek more. Because they don't know what it is they truly seek. What it is most people truly seek is bliss, is pleasure, is relaxation, is calm, is quiet. And when I say calm and quiet, I mean calm and quiet within themselves. So I'm not saying don't go out and enjoy yourself and party. And, many people get immense pleasure from going to music festivals. Great, do them. I'm not saying don't do them. But when you're at those places, you reach a place of calm and relaxation, even though there's so much stimulus going on. And that is where you find the pleasure. There are people that, unfortunately, in this world, can only find that pleasure through drugs and addictions. And the problem with that is bad for you. The problem is they're short-lived, they're expensive, But when we go within, when we go through the process of awakening, and yes, to go through the process of awakening, we have to release the traumas because they're going to stop us. We need to learn how to elicit pleasure within our physical, mental, and energetic bodies. And then we work on those things for them to become permanent. The way they become permanent is through a full awakening. Now, most people aren't going to have a full awakening. Boom, there, it's done. It's a process. For most people, they'll get to a point, they'll understand everything. They'll have that shift connection to consciousness. But again, for most people, it will still require work to keep that. And the reason it requires work to keep that isn't because if they stayed in that state, the typical yogi who goes to the cave and just sits in that state and works to stay in that state. But if you live in society, it's going to take more work because you have the strains and the stresses of life. And however complex and how many little creature comforts you want, it's going to take more to sustain those. Obviously, the more you feel inner bliss, the less you need the creature comforts. So for most people, it's not just about making that connection, making that understanding. It is then working with that connection to hold that state. For most people who are looking to go down this path, to raise Shakti, to connect to Shiva, consciousness, to have when these merge, that is when we awaken, not before. To start to understand, because that is the first point we must reach. Awakening is the first point we reach to move towards, ever closer towards enlightenment. To become enlightened, to feel lighter, more pleasurable, more blissful, to raise our vibration to a that is what most people are going to be seeking through awakening your Kundalini. If you're interested in taking this further, check out other stuff I have on my channel. You can also come and take a training with me so we can work on this together. TheAwakeningEnergy.com. Most importantly, what I ask you to do with this video, obviously apart from subscribing and commenting and sharing and liking and, all those things. But the most important thing I want you to do is perhaps you need to go back and watch this video again. That's fine. But to sit with an open mind, it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your programming is. It doesn't matter whether you wish to believe in heaven or hell or past lives and future lives. It doesn't matter. What matters is sit with this, contemplate these ideas, and think, what is it that I seek here and now and moving forward in this lifetime? Do I simply seek pleasure? And when I say pleasure, we're talking about the feeling of unconditional love. And unconditional means to everything, not to a person, to everything. And that takes us into a state of bliss. And then figure out how to spend your time achieving this now, in this lifetime, of every second of every day. And I will see you in another video.